Recording.
Hi, my name is Anisha Lanford.
Hi, my name is Amelia Lara.
Hello, my name is Ariel McFadden.
Hi everyone, welcome to our professional training session. We have an informative session lined up for you today along with some activities that go along with them. So today what we'll be discussing are the types of curriculum, namely the overt, explicit or written curriculum, your hidden or covert curriculum, null curriculum, societal curriculum, electronic curriculum, received and internal curriculum. We'll also be discussing the curriculum theory, namely the Tamba and Tyler model, followed by curriculum evaluation by Stuffelbeam. We'll also be having some concluding remarks and recommendations for you. So let's dive right in and head into the types of curriculum. Okay, so the first slide I have here for you are some pictures which illustrate what I'll be speaking about. If you look at the left-hand side to the top, we have a picture there with books that have mathematics, history, science, literature, etc. This represents the overt, explicit, or written curriculum. Followed by, we have two students there who are looking through the magnifying glass. They are trying to look for the hidden curriculum. Then we have a picture of a paper with syllabus to the top, and we have certain things ticked off and others are not, which represent the null curriculum, what we do not teach. Look at the bottom of the left-hand side of the PowerPoint slide. We have here society, culture, and life, which all relate to this societal curriculum. Beside that, we have someone with social media, search engines, different electronic devices, which represent the electronic curriculum. Then we have a student who is running away with books and different equipments, which represent the received curriculum, those things that the student will take away with him or her. The final one, we have each student connected to their own little network, which represents the prior knowledge and experiences they bring to the classroom, which is the internal curriculum. Now let's go in detail into these curriculums. So the first one I'll be speaking about here, we have the overt, explicit, or written curriculum. This is simply which is written as part of formal instruction of schooling experiences. This can be developed by curriculum experts, by administrators, teachers, or any other expert in the curriculum field. This would be like different texts, films, and materials that would support teaching, and also it supports the intentional instructional agenda of schools. We know that each school have their agenda of what they would like to cover in terms of content and what they want students to take away when they leave that institution. And so the overt curriculum would satisfy this agenda of every school. The written curriculum incorporates 5 essential components. We have concepts, we have knowledge, skills, attitudes, and action. Now this gives students the opportunity to be able to gain knowledge that is globally relevant. They understand concepts, which they can connect throughout their learning experience. They have skills that they would learn, like transdisciplinary, which can be used outside of the classroom as well, and they can use it within the different subject areas. And we have attitudes. These attitudes that students develop help for them to develop international mindedness, meaning that students realize that they're a part of a global society and that they need to add to that global society and develop and add positively to it. Finally, action. When students are educated and they are provided with the content, then they're able to go out in the world and make informed decisions and develop the global world positively. Now let's look at the hidden or covert curriculum. This is the opposite of the overt. This refers to those unwritten, unofficial, and often unintended lessons, values, and perspectives that students learn in school. The hidden curriculum provides a more holistic approach in ensuring that students' cognitive, psychological, and behavioral traits are taken into consideration when devising a curriculum. So as teachers, we need to be careful that those little values and stuff that we're displaying to students, that they're all positive. Remember that this curriculum is a way to impress your values and your morals and your perspectives onto students. It also has to do with the culture of the school. So the school administrators, teachers, you all need to be mindful that whatever you are unintendedly teaching students in terms of values and stuff, that they are positive, because students will model those behaviors. Example here is teaching strategies chosen. They communicate intended and unintended messages. Meaning that, let's say you have a teacher who focuses on grades and rote memory. Then the student grows up thinking, you know what, grades are important, I need to study, I need to remember this information. As opposed to a teacher who would teach in a way that promotes project-based learning, community-based learning, and cooperative learning. That student will be self-motivated. They'll realize the importance of contributing to their community, and they will also be able to share ideas with others and learn from others. So let's look now at the null curriculum. This curriculum involves elements that we do not teach. And when we don't teach something, it gives students the impression that these things are not important. And we need to be mindful of this. For example, let's say you're a science teacher and you're teaching evolution, but you are religious. And so you decide, you know what, I will basically just touch this at the surface. I will not go in depth. You are shortchanging students of content that can be valuable to them when making certain decisions in life. And Eisner stated with the null curriculum that what you do not teach or what you neglect to teach, the students will not learn. They will not be conscious of it. And if they're not conscious of something, then it has consequences on the type of life that the students will live, because they're not well informed to make proper decisions. Well, let's look at the fourth type of curriculum for today, which is your societal curriculum. So with societal curriculum, Cortes in 1981 said that it is the massive ongoing informal curriculum of family, peer groups, neighborhoods, churches, organizations, occupations, etc., and other social forces that educate all of us throughout our lives. We all live in society. We go to church, we have neighbors, right? We have family, we have peers, and they all influence the way that we think and the decisions we make in life. And so as teachers, we need to realize that students are part of a larger society, and they learn things from others outside of school, and we have no control over that. So we need to realize this and be mindful of it when we are teaching students. Let's move on now to the received curriculum. This is the concepts and content that are truly learned and remembered by the students. The received curriculum is measured by adequate and tailored forms of assessment. So these assessments would then let you know what students grasp from the content, what it is that they're taking away with them from the lesson and at the end of that course. The sixth one, the internal curriculum. This is the processes, content, and knowledge combined with the experience and realities of the learner to create new knowledge. As educators, we have to be mindful though that the experiences and prior knowledge that students bring, it's unique. Students will not bring the same experiences and the same prior knowledge to the classroom. So this is where a teacher needs to be creative. You need to get to know your students and their background, know their cultural experiences, the prior knowledge that they have, and be able to capitalize on that so that you can relate it to the content, which would enable them to learn the material better and be able to relate more to it. The electronic curriculum. We know that we're living in a modern world which is dominated by technology. We're now moving into technological teaching, online teaching due to the coronavirus. So this is very important. So this curriculum is saying that there are things that students learn and information that they gather from the internet. For example, on Google, right? So you need to be careful of how, try to teach students to be careful of how they're going on the search engines. Teach them what is credible sources. Teach them how to find credible sources. And also in the formal curriculum, this is saying that the formal curriculum should have a part of it whereby it teaches students to have netiquette and ethical online behavior so that students don't become cyber bullies, so that they learn to search for credible information and so that they're not victims of cyberbullying, so that they know how to manipulate social media well, and they don't plagiarize information. So these are your 7 types of curriculums that we discuss today. It's not limited to this, right? But these are the 7 that we deal with. So let's now move on to some critical questions that you may want to think of. Starting from the left, am I conveying any wrong values, morals, or behaviors that my students may be cognizant of? As a teacher, are you doing this? Are you not mindful of your values? Remember that the hidden curriculum says students are aware of how we act as teachers, how administration acts, and the broad culture of the school, and it impacts them. Second one, do I consider that students possess prior knowledge and experiences? Do you consider this as a teacher? This is the internal curriculum. Do you realize that students come with their own set of knowledge? Do you capitalize on it so that they're able to learn more effectively and efficiently? Finally, are there some elements or different topics that I deliberately or unintentionally not teach? Are you guilty of this because of your values or your religion, your religious background? Do you do this, or maybe there are other reasons? If so, think about these questions, teachers, and try to self-reflect and make the necessary adjustments and realize where it is that you are going on the right track and stick to them. Now I'll pass it on to my colleague, Ms. Amelia Lara, who will be explaining curriculum theory.
Okay, curriculum theory. Today, we're going to be looking at specifically 2 curriculum theorists by the names of Ralph Tyler and Hilda Taba. So let's begin. Let me give you a little background about these theorists. Tyler and Taba were both born in 1902. So both of them were born in the same year. They worked on an educational research called the 8-year study. And both of them created a model for curriculum design. In the diagram to the left of the screen, you will see Tyler's model. Tyler's model, like Taba's on the right, uses the linear approach. What do we mean by the linear approach? The linear approach is simply a model that has a start to an end. It goes in a process, a set of procedures, all the way to the end. If the objectives are met, then implementation of the curriculum happens. If the objectives are not met, they go back for revision at the objectives level. So like Tyler's model, Hilda's model also has objectives. It has learning experiences. It has the implementation phase and evaluation. We go in depth and we look at their models and their theories. To the left on the screen, we have the Ralph Tyler model. He uses the deductive approach. What do we mean by deductive? Deductive simply means Tyler moved from the general to the specific. He first assessed the needs of society. Before and based on needs of society, he then created the objectives so that students can learn based on those objectives. He argues from the administrative approach. He believes that administrators are the ones to create the curriculum and teachers should implement it. According to Tyler, education and objectives are used to change students' behavior. These objectives are filtered through 2 screens, mainly the philosophical and psychological screens. His model had 7 steps, the first of which is to establish the goals or objectives. So the primary thing, according to Tyler, is to establish your objectives. Secondly, you classify these objectives. Then you define them in behavioral terms. Find situations in which the achievement of these objectives can be shown. Next, develop or select measurement techniques. You collect the performance data and you compare this data with behaviorally stated objectives. So for Tyler, evaluation happens at number 7, where it says compare performance data. How did your students do in relation to the behavioral objectives you have set out from the start for them? Looking at the Hilda Taba model to the right, she now uses the inductive approach. What is the inductive approach? It's simply the opposite, the contrast of the deductive approach. So she moved from the specific to the general. According to Taba, teachers should have a part in the creation of curriculum. Because she believed that teachers should help to create the curriculum, this is called the grassroots approach. How did she come about to use the inductive approach? Because she conducted a study where she found out that teachers lack motivation in the use of curriculum. And to help to curb that, she said, if we can engage teachers to be more involved in the creation of curriculum, then we can have better performance in the classrooms. Taba model has 5 steps. She basically was centered on creating units, working from units first. So step number 1 is where you create these units. Step 2, you pilot these units. What do we mean by piloting? Piloting means you test these units in the classroom. Then you revise these units. Whatever did not work, make some changes. So as we can see, this is where evaluation happens for Taba. Number 4, then you choose your objectives now to match the units that you have created. Then 5, you implement the units. Implementation happens when teachers would attend training, workshops, and that is where these curriculums would be presented along with the units and the objectives and given to teachers for them to take to their classrooms to use. Let's look at some similarities. Even though they had many differences, they also had some similarities, one of which is the fact that both these models have objectives. So they had Tyler, for example, he started by creating objectives. Taba, objectives come in at step number 4 after the units have been revised. Second thing, validity. Tyler tests for validity using screens. The 2 screens, which are philosophical and psychological screens. Taba, on the other hand, tests for validity by piloting these units. Okay, so next I have a short activity based on the curriculum theories.
This is my activity in curriculum theory. Let's begin. It's a crossword puzzle. One across. This is a theory that includes teachers in curriculum development. This is the grassroots approach. 5, Tyler's approach was blank in nature. Tyler's approach was deductive in nature. 6, Taba's approach was blank in nature. It was inductive. Down, father of behavioral objectives is Ralph Tyler. Learning of blank should be brief, clear, specific statements of what learners will be able to do at the end of the lesson. Learning objectives. Blank, creating the grassroots approach to curriculum design. This is Hilda Taba. Taba believed in blank the units. Piloting the units. Tyler tests for objectives using the screening methods. He does this to test for validity. 9, objectives are filtered through the philosophical and psychological screens. 10, blank starts his model by creating objectives. That is Tyler. And that's it. Thank you.
What is curriculum evaluation? Curriculum evaluation is a systematic collection of data, and analysis of the objectives. It determines the value of the curriculum and finds any defects if there are any. Why do we need to evaluate the curriculum? In order to know if the implemented curriculum is efficient, we have to examine it. The ultimate goal of curriculum evaluation is to ensure that the curriculum is effective in producing quality student learning. Assessing student learning has always been a powerful influence on what teachers teach and how they teach it. As we all know, the pandemic has changed our classroom to an online classroom. In my opinion, it has made formative assessments easier because now we get the results right away. Formative assessments are assessments given during student learning. They are quizzes, surveys, daily grades. Online, I have put this picture because these are some of the software that I use, such as Kahoot, Padlet. Others include quizzes, Boom cards, and Google Forms. Summative assessments are assessments that happen at the end of a unit, the end of a year. They are exams. They can be portfolios, or presentations, or group projects. For online presentations, I use Flipgrid, and for my tests, I use the test portal. Here I have a cycle of the assessments because assessments are an ongoing process. Curriculum evaluation provides quality control in education, and therefore we must look at the 8 problems in curriculum. The scope is what is the breadth of the curriculum. It is what we are teaching. It is the content and the activities that we will use. Relevance. Relevance, in order for students to learn, the material must be relevant. It is extremely difficult for students to understand arbitrary learning. For example, if we were to read a story about snow here in Belize, most students won't be able to relate to it. Balance. Balance is the balance between structure and order, knowing what to give attention to and how much attention to give it. Integration. Integration is very important for students to understand. We must remove barriers between subjects. Sequence. The sequence is the order in which the curriculum will be taught. Continuity. Continuity is the repetition of the content. We introduce and we reintroduce. This is the spiral curriculum to allow students to keep the information fresh in their minds. Articulation. Articulation is the flow between different grade levels. We want to eliminate any gaps in between. Transferability. Transferability means we want to ensure that it is easy for students to transfer from one institution to another. So who are the stakeholders and why are these results of curriculum evaluation important? Well, the stakeholders include parents, administration, teachers, and even publishers. Parents want to know that their students are getting a quality education. Teachers want to know that their teaching strategies are effective and are giving positive results. Administrators want to know that their policies are working. And publishers want to know if there's any changes that they should make to their products. Okay, so what do we assess? It varies depending on which model is being used. There are limited models and comprehensive models. Limited models focus only on assessments, and comprehensive models analyze everything before, during, and after the objectives. Who assesses the curriculum? Well, the curriculum can be internal or external. If it is internal, then it's conducted by, it can be different groups or committees within the school. It can be the administration of the school, Ministry of Education, or even the teachers. It can also be external. External would be members of the community or any private institutions for research-based studies. And Lastly, what would you do after the evaluation? Well, if the objectives are not met, we must decide if they're still worth going over again, and if so, how will we change it? I decided to talk about these three models. The first is the Saylor model. It focuses on the goals, the program, the instructions, and evaluating the program itself. Hornbach's model, he believed that only the teacher should be responsible for curriculum assessment, and therefore his model only focuses on assessments. The SIP model was made by Daniel Stufflebeam, and he believed that we learn by doing, and he had 4 steps in his model. The first, C, stands for context, the goals, what should we do? The second is the input. It is the plan. How should we do it? The third letter, P, stands for process. These are the actions. Are we doing what we have planned to do? And the last P stands for product. These are the outcomes. Is what we are doing actually working?
Okay, so we have now reached our concluding remarks. Educators must reflect to determine if they exhibit positive or negative values, morals, attitudes, and behaviors around students, as students may adopt them and this could impact their lives. So as teachers, we need to be mindful of how we are conducting ourselves around our students. Remember, our actions, they speak too, not only words. So students may look at us as role models and they may then adapt the certain values and morals and attitudes that we exhibit. So we need to ensure that these are positive morals, values, and attitudes that we are exhibiting for students to adapt. Teachers must be mindful of the social beliefs and prior knowledge that influence student learning. So remember that students come with an array of knowledge from society and from prior knowledge and experiences, and we must capitalize on them to be able to help students to relate it to content.
Both the Tyler and Taba model for curriculum design are effective ways to develop curriculum. It has proved effective over the years because since its inception, it is still in use as we speak. Preference, though, depends on who you want to design the curriculum and what level of significance will be placed on objectives. In the end, it is the goals that will determine which model will work best for our students, our classes, our schools, and our country.
In order to know if the curriculum is effective, we have to evaluate it. We cannot do things and not have proof that it is working or not working. Curriculum evaluation is a continuous process. It is used to improve teaching strategies and the quality of student learning.
Now, let's look at our recommendations now for curriculum development. So, how can we relate all that we've talked about today to the Belizean curriculum? Well, the Belizean curriculum should be developed in such a way that it does not leave out important elements, takes unintended lessons into consideration, meaning the hidden curriculum, and acknowledges as well as capitalizes on students' prior knowledge and experience. Remember, there are certain values and things that we exhibit based on our culture and the culture of the school that students catch up on. So we want to ensure that these are positive for the students to carry within their lifetime. We also know that they come with their knowledge and experience to the classroom. Capitalize on it, teachers, right? And this should be included in the curriculum. This should be noted in the curriculum so that teachers can be aware of this. In addition, appropriate and acceptable etiquette and online behavior should be taught as a part of the formal curriculum. Remember that we are in a technological world. It's a technological time. And so students need to be aware of how to behave on the internet. What is acceptable internet? Ways how to surf for information on the internet. What is acceptable to post on social media and things like such? What is ethical online behavior? So how do you know if you're a victim of cyberbullying? So these are things that the formal curriculum should then begin to include. And the curriculum in Belize would definitely benefit from this, and it would improve the curriculum.
In regards to the models, in regards to the two models that we've looked at for this lesson, both of them have proved effective over time. In Belize, it would be better to use the grassroots approach. I say this because the grassroots approach involves the input from teachers. Teachers are the main persons in every classroom. They are the one who go and have this experience with their students. Nobody else but the teachers in the classroom. So that is why including them is of vital importance when designing a curriculum. So that in the end, they will be able to assist in developing a very unique curriculum to fit our Belizean reality.
At secondary school, the curriculum can be evaluated at the departmental level on an annual basis. It is important that teachers of each department evaluate at the end to see what objectives were met, which objectives were not met, and which ones they will either edit or carry on into the next year. This is what we spoke about, the gaps between the grade levels. It's important that teachers speak about what they were able to cover and not able to cover. It is easy for us to do this each year at the end of the year. However, the national curriculum should also be evaluated. But because it is a tedious process, we suggest that it be evaluated at least 2 to 3 years. It should be evaluated by the teacher, administration, and the ministry level. We have created a Kahoot challenge for you. It is based on what you've learned in our Integrated Learning Center lesson. You may go to the link that I provided here as well as under the video, or you can go to kahoot.it and enter this pin. Here are our references. And thank you very much for joining us for this workshop.
Thank you.
Thank you.